We all recognize Honda for their cars and maybe even motorcycles, but don't be mistaken, Honda isn't an automaker, they're a mobility company, which encapsulates but isn't limited to cars, motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, lawnmowers, business jets, marine outboards, and now rockets. And this rockets part isn't new. They've been developing their own engine since 2019, which doesn't seem long ago, but that's almost 7 years now. So why am I telling you this now? Why is this suddenly became important? Well, a few weeks ago, that hard work paid off with their first successful launch of a reusable rocket. In this instance, calling it a mission or even a launch is a stretch. It was only up in the air for 56.6 seconds. But hey, the Wright brothers' first flight only lasted 12 seconds, so it's all about perspective. However, bottom line, does this mark Honda's entrance into one of the toughest industries in the world, and could they dethrone SpaceX, or is this all just a publicity stunt? To determine this, I want to look at what their plans actually are, whether or not they stand a chance in the market, and if so, will they compete against SpaceX? So to start, beyond just another product they can throw into their ever-growing pile, why rockets, why now? Well, their starting goal is to build small, reusable rockets to launch satellites into low Earth orbit, which is similar to SpaceX and is fairly straightforward. Japan's space industry is growing, and so is their need for independent satellites, which is a role Honda wants to be a part of. But they also want to develop life support technology to support lunar exploration. This has a lot to unpack. They've already experimented in this field with regenerative fuel cells for hydrogen cars. They're simply repurposing proven Earth-based clean energy systems for the moon. In addition, Honda is collaborating with Space and Tec-Masters to test high differential pressure water electrolysis on the ISS. It's a mouthful, I know, but in simple terms, it's a system that splits water into hydrogen and oxygen using electricity. That's nothing new. What makes this special is the fact it does this under high pressure, which helps store the gases more efficiently and makes the system compact. And if there's anything the space industry loves, it's efficiency and compactness. The other important partnership they have is with Astrobotic. The idea here is Honda's RFC systems would be integrated with Astrobotic solar array technologies and Lunar grid to provide continuous power, even during the moon's 2-week-long nights. So to answer why rockets, why now? Well, if you remember the other week's video on the modern moon race, we know Japan's government agency JAXA is working with the US to develop the Artemis program, with the goal of establishing a permanent lunar base. While NASA is leading these missions, they're relying heavily on other countries and private companies. Currently, they plan to be back on the moon by 2027. That's not far off. So while it's a small market, Honda is trying to capitalize on this opportunity. And with half a dozen other countries sharing ambitions of moon exploration in the next 30 years, starting in the rocket industry now may land them in the perfect window of opportunity. So if they have a trusted reputation, strong ties to both space agencies and the government of Japan, and are now in the perfect window of opportunity, could they dethrone SpaceX? No, that's my answer at least. This is the perfect window of opportunity for their circumstance in Japan and in moon infrastructure. But SpaceX is possibly decades ahead in rocket production and launches. With that being said, they are planning on competing directly on SpaceX home turf, with a space development division already founded in Honda's American subsidiary. So we'll see how this plays out, I guess. They're undoubtedly still in their early stages of their space program, but I'm curious to see what you believe is their future potential. As always, I'll be reading all the comments. Please join the Discord if you want to help with future videos, and I'll see you guys again next week.